it's about the conversation. It's not about anything other than.
100% agree. All right. So let's go ahead and get this intro on here, and then we'll get started. All right. I think it worked.
It did. That was a great.
Wait. Yeah, that a buddy of mine put that together, and that's his song on that, and I think it's pretty badass.
Yeah, that's an intro, man. I dig it.
Yeah. So asked you how you were doing backstage, but I'll officially say I'm with Taylor Roberts of Riding with Killers and Taproot. For those that don't know, very excited to have you on, and thank you for agreeing to do this. How are we doing?
Dude, well, first of all, what's going on, Will? How are you, bro?
Great.
And secondly, thank you for even wanting to talk to me in the first place. So excited to be on the show with you and dig in and see where the cards land.
Yeah. Go through all the weird muck and just take it all in, and hopefully provide a good, entertaining episode.
We'll see if we can.
All right. So I guess we'll start with asking how it's been having an album out. Full circle.
Man, it's been a long time since I have had a full album out. Since the previous band, before I started Riding with Killers, I think it was 2015. We had that record out. So to get back to this spot, for me is monumental, I would say, because there was a lot of uncertainty when I quit my original band from the Gulf Coast and started out on this, because I was recording singles, I was recording different things like that, and I didn't know if I would get to the point of where I had another record. And to finally be back here, it's really cool. I'm so proud of the collection of songs on that record. I got to work with so many amazing people, from guest vocalists to other musicians, and producers, and just a bunch of friends. I got to make that record with a bunch of friends, and it came out. I'm very happy with how it came out. Just very proud of it.
I am as well. I think I'm sorry if I get this incorrect. What was the first song with Riding with Killers? Because I've been with the project since you launched it, and I think it was just you at the time. Was it Fix? Yeah, right. It was that one.
Yeah, fixing. It was either Get In or Fixing You, but I think I put out Fixing You first, maybe. Was it? Or was it Get In?
I'm not exactly positive. I think they're kind of close together.
No, it was Is Anybody Listening? That, because I remember
I was
talking, and we were like, wouldn't this be a perfect little song to reintroduce the new band? Is like, well, who's still listening? Because whenever I quit the other band, people were mad at me, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people kind of dropped off and thought that I was just, I was done with music or whatever, which obviously wasn't the case. But it was a good little, we'll throw a little something out there and we'll see if anybody's still listening. And there was a couple people, thankfully.
I'd say you've definitely taken traction since you've been releasing the songs and got the album out. You're doing shows, double shows, right? Taproot and Riding with Killers. And I think that wrapped up recently, right?
Yeah. The last show that we did of 2023, I pulled double duty. Riding with Killers opened the night. We had a band in between, our friends, and I Set My Friends on Fire, which I absolutely love those guys. They're hilarious. So fun to hang out with, and then I went on for the headlining set, and I was beat. I was so dead after that, but it was so cool to know that like I could make that happen, especially like because I got all the singing out though, and I do a decent amount of singing in Taproot, but it's not near what I have to do with Riding with Killers. So it's like I almost get it's like a warm up to a degree, and then I get to jump around because I'm not chained to a mic stand anymore. So it was fun, but like at the end of that, like I was for sure tired.
Yeah. You thinking that that'll happen more in the future with Riding with Killers and Taproot doing joint shows?
It's funny you bring that up because I've had a couple of people recently speak to me about that, and like in my head I'm like, oh, I don't want to take away opening slots from regional bands or blah 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 blah, but they were like, well dude, like Dope and Static X do that, and it's like, all right, well you make a good point, and every time I've brought that up, everyone brings up that point, and they're like, it wouldn't be the first time something like this has happened, and it would be cool if we had a 3-band package, and then you could throw like an opener, local support on there, so that way you're not taking away from any locals in the area who rightfully have earned that spot to open for a tour package.
Right.
I would say as long as it didn't impede bands like that, I would love to do that, because I mean, I really am working towards getting Riding with Killers to that touring point to where, we're back on the circuit. And I miss being on the road, like for long periods of time. And I want both bands to get back to that. And if there's an avenue where both bands can go on the road together, I think that would be amazing. So I'm open to it.
I do too. I do too, and I agree with your view on that. I think I guess I want to say the word is conflicted about doing the same thing. If I had a band and I was also pulling double duty with the headliner, I would definitely want to work in an opener for my band before me, so somebody got their own exposure as well and their name out there, and just because it's nice to help build help the little guy get noticed. So
Well,
I
and
mean,
dude, honestly, that's what Taproot did for Catharsis. That's
yeah.
we played a show with them, and Phil and I like didn't separate that night at the Soul Kitchen. We just hung out a lot, and then we ended up doing a festival together, and I guess I made a good impression because Phil gave me his number. And he was like, hey, here's my management's contact. You need to get blah, 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 blah. Like there was a cool way of like, they really, they were that band that wanted to help and wanted to care. And that's why I always had, aside from being such a huge Taproot fan growing up, and then being one of the core bands that made me fall that much more in love with playing guitar and made me want to write music. Like the fact that they were that cool, and they did give me a great opportunity by exchanging numbers and getting me in touch with management. And then next thing you know, we're on tour with them. And then, I mean, look at it now.
Yeah.
I'm in the band. It's so weird. Like I still have to pinch myself on that. Like I've been with them a year now, but it doesn't seem real still. But like to not get too deep in the weeds and to circle back, like I love the fact that Taproot did that for me, and it feels like they can still continue to do that for other bands moving forward. And that's why I am hesitant, because obviously, yes, dude, I want my art to get out there. I want to tour. I want to go do the thing. That's why I'm in vocal lessons, to preserve my voice so I can have a very long career with both bands. I want to do it right, but I also don't want to be greedy at the same time and just be like, okay, well, I'm in the opening and the closing band and yada, yada, yada. If there's a way to do that and not take away from anybody else in different markets, then, it's a very fine line that I think is going to have to be walked whenever we do start really getting back out and touring. But that's also, I'm not sure if Taproot will get back on a long tour. I would love it if they did, and everybody in the band knows that, like, I'm advocating for it, and I'm like, yes, let's go, don't ever send me home again, blah.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, Steven does seem like he's slowed down a bit, but when he's on stage, he's still got a ton of energy. I mean, I saw that one of him jumping from the balcony down into the mosh pit, and I'm just like, dude's like 40 plus, and he's sitting there just doing that, and so
this shit scares me every single time, and I'm like, you better fucking catch him. Like, like we but I feel it's almost, it's controlled chaos, but I mean, dude, like they, like Phil and Steve and Jared, they all got kids. I'm the only one that's, like, not, I don't have kids. I have my own little family, but, like, Macy comes on the road with me, and she does merch for Taproot, so we essentially get to tour together, which is really rad. And I'm kind of one of the only ones in the band that's like, all right, let's go. Oh, a 2-month long tour, okay. Everyone else, like, they've got real lives and real things. And but I mean, that's not to say that if things didn't get back to how they were in the early days, I think if the right offer with the right bands and the right things popped up, like, they would be open to it. But who knows when that'll come around, but the things that we're doing now, like, phenomenal still. Like, we're doing all the Danny Wimmer fests this summer. Like, it's gonna be fun, and I hope, like I said, this is segueing into more touring for them, us.
Oh, I definitely think it's gonna happen. I would hope it would happen. Taproot is one of those bands who I've listened to them since I was like 17 or 18, I think.
Yeah.
I'm 37 now, and there for a long while that it was just quiet, and before I, kind of dug around, and, not to make this about Taproot or anything, but I was sad when things kind of dissolved and everybody kind of went their ways and everything with those guys. And then now he started working on that record that he just put out last year. And I didn't expect your name to pop up for them as their new guitarist. And so I kind of wanted to ask you how that came to be, man, because I mean, you kind of explained a little bit, but like that had to be a moment for you that was just like, well, holy crap. Like, these are some of my heroes, that I listened to, through the years. And now I'm being asked to be their guitarist. Like, how did the cards fall for that to come to be?
Yeah, man. I mean, and I'll tell you right now, I'll never forget where I was. I was having lunch. Macy and I are out with our really good friends, Matt and Samantha Stillman. I don't know why, but I can't talk right now. Matt and Samantha Stillman. And we were having lunch, and I get a phone call, and I start crying at the dinner table, and like, they're like, who died? What's going on? And I was like, everything's wonderful. Like, I mean, it was, and it was
Happy
so funny.
tears.
He was like, I'm so sorry. It's not as cool as when Metallica hired Rob Trujillo. And I was like, yeah, but at the same time, it is, man, because, like, and no disrespect to Metallica, but like Taproot made me want to play guitar more than Metallica did, because that was just the time period that I was born into, to a degree.
Right,
like
sense, yeah.
I was like, when I got into metal and rock, it was new metal. Like my friend Caleb, who like his family, the McBrides, they introduced me to like Taproot, Mudvayne, Slipknot, Papa Roach, Linkin Park, System of a Down, Deftones, that core group. And I mean, like, Taproot to me was always one of those, like the big seven or whatever the hell you want to call it, because there's more than just four when it comes to new metal greatness. Same thing with metal, but I always felt like Taproot was included in that in that circle of just bands that were super important from that time period. But, basically, like I said, we ended up on tour with them in 2013, ended up on the same management. And I basically, I hung out with those guys as much as I possibly could without annoying them or pissing them off because they answered questions. They saw that I was curious about the business, and I made it a point to hang out and learn from them. And through doing that, like, obviously you become friends if you're going to hang out with somebody on the road for 30 days. Or it might have been just under 30. I think it was like 25 or 26, something like that. But got to know him really well to the point of where like Dave Coughlin, their touring drummer at the time, who is coincidentally the drummer on the Riding with Killers record.
I was going to
for Atlanta, and he calls me and he's like, "Bro, you need to get back to your van. We think you got a ticket." And I was like, "Fuck!" And so I was sprinting down the street in Atlanta in Little 5 Points, which I think is no more, if I'm not mistaken. I know they took down a bunch of stuff over there, but I see a ticket and I pull it off, and then it says, "Go fuck yourself, love, Dave." And I was like, "Oh,
wow,
you're awesome," and so that kind of sparked another layer of the friendship. And then whenever we got off tour, final dates, like Dave and I heavily stayed in touch, and I did with Phil. And what's funny enough, I actually talked to Mike way more after tour than I ever did with Steve, because Steve is Steve, man. He goes into his little songwriting fortress of solitude and does his thing. And every now and again you'll get a Merry Christmas, or you know what I'm saying? Like it's just Steve. He's not big on being on the phone. Like, our group chats now are fucking hilarious. Like I feel like we annoy Steve more than we make him happy. Like reacting to different stuff, and he's like, "God damn it, I get a notification every fucking blah blah blah." But anyway, I digress. But either way, like I kept in touch with those guys. And slowly, like, just kind of fell out of touch with Mike, and that was because of no reasons whatsoever. And I'll say this, like, I've got nothing but love for Mike. He's been nothing but nice to me. So and I know that's not been similar stories that other people share, but he was always cool to me, and it's an honor to play in his position, in his place, and be there for the guys. But anyway, we kept in touch. We kept talking over the years. But like Dave and I, and actually I played Call of Duty with him earlier today for my vocal lesson, and I'm gonna play again with him tonight. But he and I like really like stayed in touch. Like we've basically played Call of Duty online together for the last, like, ever since we got off tour. He was like, Call of Duty, okay, yeah. And then like that's how we kind of stayed in touch. And then whenever the ship was sailing for the rocks with my old band from back home, and I knew that I was gonna leave, I called him up and I was like, "Hey man, like, I'm gonna come to your neck of the woods, and we're gonna write some music. We've always talked about it, and I know." He wasn't really touring at the time, and he was playing gigs here and there, but he wasn't really in a band. And he was like, "Yeah, whatever, kid. I'll see you when I see you." Like, he just didn't think I would show up. And then I made my way up, and I landed here. And I started writing some songs, and then I was like, "Well, hey, I know a guy in Detroit." And I was, of course, talking to Dave. And then from there, we were like, "All right, cool. We got to have Dave do all the drums." Because we had done program drums on those 3 songs, on Get In, Is Anybody Listening, and Fixing You. And I was like, man, like, with where I'm living, like, Dave's a 2-hour drive. Like, what a shame it would be to not have real drums when one of the raddest dudes and raddest drummers that I know is like 2 hours away. Like, and so basically once we did that, we were like, dude, we gotta keep writing together. We function well together. And you know, they're like great example, the chorus riff of Self-Destruct. We had everything else and we didn't know what the chorus riff was going to be, and we kept just trying to like, all right, we're gonna blah, and then finally Matt was like, all right, fuck it. He was like, play along to the chorus or play along to the song in the verses, and then just whatever happens in the chorus. And so Dave and I just looked at each other and we're like, all right. And like we just, you know what I'm saying? Like Dave's one of those people that like get to thinking about stuff, we figure it out. And so you know, we basically did a handful of other songs and then essentially the record that's out now. And once Dave and I had, I think, 12 songs or so, he just started sending all the stuff to Phil and Steve, and they were like, listen to what he's making, like, and what we're making, like, but he was like, these are his songs, like listen to what he's doing. And you know, that basically led them to asking where I was living at, and they were like, wait, he's in Detroit? And they were like, holy shit, call him. And I basically got a phone call. So really, I mean, I would say Dave Coughlin was the main reason that I moved up here and took a leap of faith to leave my hometown, and that helped to the creation of Writing with Killers, and it helped to me joining Taproot, man. Like I don't know, Dave's the older brother I've never got to have growing up, man, and that's the thing, man. Is like I started my business up here in Detroit, and it was all me moving to be closer to Dave because they had, before I moved up here, he and his wife Mel had invited me up to stay with them when Taproot did the 2 shows back in 2017, I think it was, at the Machine Shop. And I was like, shit, that's around my birthday. Like, of course. And I had probably like one of the best 4 days of my entire life, like hanging with Dave and Mel, seeing the way that they lived their lives and who they were as people behind closed doors, and, you know, meeting the family. And, you know, it was just, it felt right. And, that's what ultimately led me up here. Cause, you know, I wanted to make music with Dave, and that led to me joining Taproot somehow. You know,
wow, man. That's quite a story, and like that's I don't know if you've spoken a whole lot on that before because I haven't seen anything, you know, myself on it, but that's pretty wild. You know, you basically already had these established relationships with, you know, some core members of that band, and I would say that was just, it was meant to be something that happened for you when it was right to happen, you know,
for
like
sure. Well,
fate just had that, you know.
Oh, so sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
mean to cut you off, bro. What were you saying?
No, don't worry, man. I do the same thing. To tell you the truth, I'm trying to work on that, but you know, it's just excitement. It's just wanting to, you know, shoot your thought out there before you lose it. But you can go ahead, man. It's no worries.
Yeah, well, and I was just gonna piggyback off of what you were saying, because you were saying it happened when the timing was right. Um, they had asked me a couple of times after that tour if I wanted to come up and do a show or two, but then, you know, I lived too far away. Like I couldn't make a rehearsal. Like I would fly in, do all that. So, I mean, it was something that had been discussed a while back, and then it just never happened. And I was like, oh, this is never going to happen. But I was like, hey, it's kind of cool that like they considered me,
Right.
you know? And it was, it was just kind of interesting, man. And what's funny is, and then we'll jump back in, but Steve and Phil were basically like, man, way to manifest that shit. Cause my screen name forever online has always been TR Guitar. And you know, they all abbreviate Taproot to TR.
Yeah,
And
it works for
I was
Taproot.
like, Taylor Roberts Guitar, that's easy for me to remember, TR Guitar. And you know, it was just funny. We had a moment there, like, man, that's definitely the definition of manifestation. But
Absolutely.
it's it feels right. I will say that, man. I'm very happy with where I landed here, and it doesn't feel like it's forced at all. The guys have made me feel so welcome, but it's and when I started learning the songs, they felt weirdly familiar. Like, and of course, like I know the catalog, but like I never, some of these songs that I've had to learn, like I've had to learn like 25 songs, like, like there's songs that I never had attempted before, but like when I got into them, I was like I just knew what to do, if that makes sense. And it's been really cool.
That's awesome. What was the has there been a challenging song to learn from their catalog that you didn't expect would be challenging, or is it not so much challenging as it is just surprised at what Mike, did with his parts?
Well, so I'll say that, like, and Steve did a lot of the guitar writing. Like, a lot of that is Steve. And I mean, Mike definitely had his own thing on it. But I'll say that, like, the one that gave me a bit of a loop was probably Mirror's Reflection.
Really?
Because it's such a sludgy, like, especially in that middle part, that da 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 da, like it's easy to get lost in that, especially when you're playing it and you're in the moment and you're moving your body with it, because it's a little strange. It almost makes it feel off-timey, but it's not. Like, and there's a lot of interesting things throughout that whole song. But I would say Mirror's Reflection was a little interesting, and a bit of a learning curve. And then what would another one be?
Anything off of Gift that was particularly a head scratcher?
I mean, that would be the one, was Reflection. Yeah. And that was the other thing, is that once I figured out one of the main chords, it's like it unlocked, like it's a thing that Steve does. And once I figured that chord out, I was like, oh, I'm in your head now. Like, and I kind of started like figuring things out a little easier. But Mirror's Reflection was really the weirdest one, because there's a lot. I mean, and even that intro, like the dissonant chord with it, it's that one. I was like, wait, what exactly is he doing? Okay, got it. But once you get it, you got it. I would say too, maybe I'm blanking on all the song names, of course. Top of Blue Sky Research. And it was just the middle part. Oh my God, I can't think of the name of it, but I'm sure in like 5 minutes it'll come to me and I'll be like, oh, that song.
Hey, if it does, just plug it in there.
Yeah, ADHD.
But no, I want to say, I want to say, man, I'm super proud of what you've accomplished. Just with anything you've been a part of. I'm a huge fan of. Yeah, man, you deserve the confirmation that what you're doing is more than just working. It sounds, I want to say, fresh to me, to my ears. I mean, sure, you could say that Riding with Killers is familiar, as far as, the hard rock, or even if you want to give it the new metal label, whatever people want to call it. I've seen Riding with Killers, it's just growing and growing, man. And I'm sure there was uncertainty when you went into it. And I think you said there was, where exactly it would take you, like if people would even care. obviously, you know, people care. You know, you've seen the crowds, you know, the shows that you played recently. Yeah, you know, Taproot was there too, but they weren't just there for Taproot, I'm sure. Where I'm going with this is you've got, I like to tell the people that I talk with that, to me, the minds that they have for the music that they make are unique. Like the way you approach your guitar parts and your writing it's man, how would I even put it? Like I'm blanking a good word that I'd want to use, but and I don't want to use a comparison exactly either to who you remind me of with your writing. But you're very purposeful, I guess, with the way you put your words together and write your music. And I want to say even you make it relatable, you know, and
Thank you.
yeah, and just man, your guitar parts just slam like bam. You know, like the riff for Hostility, whenever that comes on, like I'm like if I'm driving in my car, if I'm home, I just have to stop and just get into it. You know, it's just like the way that song moves and hits, and not just that. Like you mentioned the self destruct, like what you were saying with the chorus. You know, exactly, man. It. You guys got onto something with that when you said it was Dave helped you guys kind of unlock like the path in that, right? You said,
Yeah, for the chorus of
yeah,
self-destruct, he and I just we put the tape on and we looked at each other and we are like, all right, whatever happens happens, but we locked in. And at once we got in that mode, like that's when I started doing the variations from the chord changes, and then like we didn't change it after that because we're like, yep, that's the chorus riff, we got it done. And then as far as Hostility, I mean, that's a me and James special, man. He and I had so much fun putting that song together, and putting his riffs and my riffs, and mixing them up. Like he's one of my favorite, he is my favorite bass player. It's, I mean, honestly, he's my favorite bass player for sure. Like he's such a great writer, man. And I was really lucky to have him on the second Writing with Killers record, which we already completed. We finished that last
really?
December. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, so
Well,
what's fun about Full Circle? I mean, that's a collection of like the last 4 years or so, man. Like, you know, we started writing fragments of it. COVID
Mhm.
happened. We got together when we could, and you know, we already kind of had the record together, and there were just little odds and ends things that we had to do. And then once it was like, all right, cool, we can get this mixed, I ended up getting introduced to Jacob Herman from Gothenburg, Sweden, and then we decided we wanted to write a record together, and so we just kind of worked on that in the meantime. So um, I really enjoy writing music, and especially when I get to write with people like James and Dave and Matt and Tim and now Jacob and Devin Clark. Like when I get in rooms with people like that, it's hard not to write, you know, and jut out a million different riffs and just have fun with it, you know. So yeah, man, I've been very lucky to work with some really great musicians, and create some music that I feel is some of the best work I've done throughout my entire career. And I'm very, very fortunate. And I also got to mention George Mason too. So he did all the violin tracks on Novelty on the record, and
That's a great track too.
yeah, and the only thing I helped with violin wise was I essentially wrote a guitar riff over the chorus. That that was originally a guitar riff, and I think the guitars might be buried a little bit. And then George took that, put his own spin on it, and we kind of harmonized it. But like everything else throughout the song is 100% George just being George and being an absolute badass. it made me so happy that he wanted to be a part of the song. And what's really funny is when he did the violins for that song, Novelty was just a bare bones acoustic and me vocals song. Like, we didn't have bass, drums, we didn't have the big rock part and the solo or any of that. And I sent it to him, just
It's
bare
funny you
bones.
say that.
That's what he came out with,
Yeah.
you know.
It's funny you say that it was an acoustic at first, because I kind of could hear that when I first heard the track, and I'm like, hey, this kind of sounds like, because a lot of bands will write acoustically, and then when they go into the studio and stuff, and with the intention of that's the bones for the song. I'd love to hear that acoustic. Like, I'd probably like it even more that way, because I could already hear that in the track itself.
Yeah, we used the Martin that I wrote that riff on, my my 000 17. We used that. We also strung up the Martin Nashville style too, so it basically gave it a 12-string guitar effect. And then we layered the whole song has a layer of acoustic guitar, and then of course we added the heavy rock guitars, and then everything else outside of that as well. But that song was acoustic to begin with, though. But it's interesting though that I'm really glad that George heard it that way, because the way that he composed all the violins, like, it sounds so deflated and defeated, but it also has like a Disney-esque quality to what he did with some of the notes, at least in my mind. Like, it reminds me of, like, man, that has that old school Disney animated movie vibe, but like, like it was really cool, the way that he captured the emotion on that. And then of course too is I got to touch on Paul McCoy from 12 Stones, and Jenny Nord from Rave Requiem for being on tracks with me. Paul, as you know, is on World Apart. And Jenny is on In Silence. And it was just really cool to work with two world-class vocalists from different sides of the world, because Jenny's band is from Sweden, and that's kind of how I got hooked up with her, was through meeting Jake from Syra, but he's the original vocalist of Amaranth. He came and gave me an in-person vocal lesson. We got to have lunch, and really, really hit it off, and really grateful for his friendship. Oh, dude, it was so cool, man, because like, dude's got like gold records, and he's amazing, and then I also got to do a vocal lesson with Andy, the original screamer from Amaranth, while I was there, and it was amazing to get to chat with both of those guys and get essentially a master class. I'm really grateful to Jacob for setting that up. But through meeting Jake, I got to meet Jenny, and I'm such a fan of her band Rave the Requiem. I heard their song Ophelia, and I was immediately hooked in, and I was like, dude, if we can find a way to work together. And luckily we had that track. It was almost kind of like a Seether situation, where Broken was originally just Sean on the track, and then they're like, we need a female vocalist, and that was kind of the situation. Matt and I were listening to it, we're like, it's a good song, but like, it's missing something. And Matt was like, we need to find a female singer. And we had tossed around a couple different ideas for vocalists, but as soon as I heard Jenny, I was like, found her, got it. She's who I want.
Your guys' vocals really work well together, so I think that she was the perfect choice myself.
Dude, the way that our voices sound together, like and she and I have talked about it. We really want to do a music video together, and I think it would be super cool if it was like almost like a blacked out room, but it's like you can tell that it's a set from a certain angle. you know, that, but it's like there's a wall, she's on one side, I'm on the other, and it's almost like a performance piece. Like instead of like, all right, we're a band, brr. Like I think it would be cool to make it more of a visual piece of art.
Cinematic almost.
Huh?
More cinematic
Yeah,
almost, kind
yeah,
of
like
like.
and that's what I want to start doing with more of the music videos. Like for the first time, like I've got more story-based music videos, and I really, really like that because I've always enjoyed, especially you know, if you find the right video, um, like that accompanies a song, that song takes on a whole new life. Like great example, and this is an EDM track, but it's a song called Inner Light by the band Elderbrook.
I
But
think I know it.
dude, watch the music video. It is sublime. Like it turns that song into, and it adds another element to the art of the song. Like, and obviously that's what a music video is supposed to be, but like they do it right. Like it's a very beautiful piece that two performers do. Like you just got to watch it. That's the best way I know to
I
get
will
you there. I'm
definitely.
not gonna but you know, like that's,
Go ahead.
yeah, that's what I want to do with that one.
I am all for. I would love seeing something for that track because it's in my top 3 from Full Circle, and believe it or not,
Thank you.
my favorite is my favorite may not be one you expect from someone to say, because I'm sure a lot of people are saying like the real in your face tracks that get people moving are their favorites, which I love those tracks too. But my ear is always more attracted to a song that's got a lot of I want to say heft, but I think it's the wrong word. Maybe depth is more accurate. But Floating is my favorite track off of Full Circle. Like,
Hell yeah.
that's, dude, it's got such a heavy feel to it. Not like heavy as in like, like heavy guitar feel, just like it's heavy, like what you named the track was perfect for how it sounds. And I want to say that if I understand your intention behind the lyrics, is kind of like about intimacy, about intimacy or something like that, like a love for, I would imagine, who you're with now. And I think that's probably another reason why I like it so much, because I like it when people write from that vulnerable, I can't even say the word vulnerability, and I probably botched the word still, but it's a killer track, dude. Like I would love to see a video for that too, but like it's, I don't know if that's on your, yeah.
I've definitely
it's
thought
awesome
about it. I mean, Macy is 100% the inspiration behind that track. I've never had a girl, and like I've never had someone pull that out of me, like much less me go to a studio, hey, here's what I got, and then we come away with that track. I had a very clear vision of that one. Like that one was easy because I was writing about Macy, and it's literally I spent 2 days in New Orleans with her. Like we weren't like official yet or anything, but like we were dating, but we didn't have the titles yet. We were both fresh out of really bad relationships, and we were but and there was a thing, but like I laid in bed with her, and man, like I don't know, man, it felt like I was floating in the calmest ocean in the entire world. But like I don't know, it didn't feel like there were two people there anymore. It was just me and her, but it wasn't me and her, it was us, and that was I had never had anyone make me feel like that before. And I'll never forget when I knew it was going to be something I wanted to pursue. So Dave does recording sessions for other bands. He's now also the touring, and he is the drummer of Sponge. He's not the touring, he is the drummer of Sponge.
Right.
but he works with other artists. Another artist named Audrey Ray, who is a wonderful country artist. Absolutely love her. I've actually I got to sit in with her band once when they needed. I got to do a fill-in gig with them. It was so much fun. But basically, Dave had invited me up to one of Audrey's recording sessions at the Loft Recording Studio, which is owned by the Paddlins. And while I was there, Audrey and I got to talking, and, I'm an artist with Gibson guitars, and she has a beautiful, beautiful Gibson acoustic. Pretty sure I don't know if it's the Hummingbird. I think it's the, I can't remember exactly which model of hers it is, but, I asked her if I could play her guitar, and, that riff had just kind of come to me a couple days prior, and I started playing it. The da-na-na-na, 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 like, but I was just letting it all ring out. And I remember Audrey stopped. She was like, "That's absolutely beautiful." And I kind of got a grin on my face when I was playing it, and I was like, "Okay, cool. Like, there's something here. Like, I'm right about this. I know I am." And we had so much fun recording that too, because you know we kind of wanted to try to get like a Foo Fighters / Deftonesy Digital Bath meets Everlong or something along the line. Like we wanted to, we didn't want to copy it, but we were like the vibe, the feel of those tracks. We want to kind of siphon that with this riff and how we do the drums and everything. And I feel like we disengaged some of Dave's snares, and we ended up pushing his toms through a Roland Space Echo, like a piece of analog. Do you know what that is by chance?
To tell you the truth, I don't, man.
Okay, no worries. It's this really beautiful magical box. It has a bunch of knobs, and we siphon the drums through that, and that's why, like, throughout the track you'll hear like different echo drums. We made it very spacey, and watery, and that's really what I wanted to try to capture with that song, and I feel like we did a great job. But yeah, man, I'm proud of that one, because I've never really wanted to write a love song before, and never really had a reason to until now.
Well, for your first one, you hit it out of the park, I would say. Like, I go back to that song pretty much every day and listen to it. And I just sit there and I'm like, man, like, I could hear people just showing this to like people that they're feeling the same way about, and saying, this is how I feel about you.
Well,
and I'd say that song. Go ahead.
Man. And not that I want to highlight, but just to talk about a good family friend. Unfortunately, so Kim and Ernest were friends of my parents, and of course friends with me, because you know what I'm saying, you get to hang out with your friends' parents when you get older. So like we knew each other really well, and they're really great people. Every time I would come home, visit home, Ernest and Kim were always there to say hey, and hang out with us for a couple of hours, catch up. They gave a shit what was going on in my life, and vice versa. And they're just really good people. And unfortunately, Ernest passed away recently, but
sorry, man.
Yeah, thank you. Like it was really fucking weird, out of the blue, man. And they're not old, you know what I mean? Like early 50s, like that's not old, or mid 50s. I'm sorry. Either way, don't kill me, Kim. But apparently she used Floating as one of those songs, like at the wake and the funeral, and I was really moved by that someone felt the need to use that to express something that, and to grieve like that. Like, it's, as sad as it is, it's still really beautiful that that song meant enough for someone. They were together, oh god, 20 plus years, you know what I mean? And to have someone use that to, you know, for that was really cool, and it was special, I thought. But I would love to do a video like for that song, and I've already kind of got it in my head what it would be, you know, just daylight, sunshine coming through the windows, you know, smoke, you know, catching the rays of sunshine, little scenes here and there, and you know, I mean, it would be 100% like a love letter to Macy, but in video form, and us hanging out, you know. But it would need to be done artsy, you know, like close up shots, like covers, and you know, very like feet intertwined, or you know, just different things. Like, and there's a right way to do that for sure. But that's on the list at some point.
Well, I hope it gets made, because, like I said, it's my favorite track from you, hands down. And before I forget about Michigan, talking about them using that song at the wake, that just drives home the point I was trying to make to you earlier about the way you write your music, and you know, and all that. You have that gift. And I would say that that's confirmation, and in my head it would be anyways, that you are definitely doing something that are songs that people need to hear, you know, whatever the subject matter of the song is, they're going to help the right people. And that's just proof of the fact.
Thank you, man. I mean, that means a lot. Like cause that's what I want to do. Like my ultimate goal here is, you know, like I'm not looking, because of course everybody wants to be a rock star, man. We want to have like the Nickelback song, you know, 15
Right.
cars, hilltop house, blah blah blah. But like as I've gotten older, like, dude, I want to do for others what Taproot, Linkin Park, Slipknot, Mudvayne did for me as a young man growing up who didn't know how to fully express his thoughts and his feelings, you know, but they sure as hell did. And that's what I really want, man. I want to be able to make music that hopefully matters to somebody, and then go make that connection in a live room together, and you know, just experience life together. And you know, music is here to help, and that's what I want to do.
I don't want to keep you terribly long, so if you could always let me know if
you want to keep
anything you need.
Fine, man.
All right. I want to touch on, can you talk about this single and video that you hinted at, that I commented upon, that I wanted to touch on in this episode with you? New song, right? Was it a new song you were talking about? It was a single.
Was it man, I'm
Let's
bad.
see. No worries, man. This makes it fun. It was it your Instagram that I saw it? I can't remember. Let me go. Not that one. I don't know how far back it was, but I said, let's talk about it on the episode. And you said, oh yeah, here it is. We may or may not have a single head to rock radio soon. Get ready. And I said, let's talk about it Sunday. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now I remember. So, yes, we do. Oh, sorry. About to knock over my stand. I started working with Tim from New Ocean Media, and it's been really great to meet him. I got to meet him through my publicist, Bob Bradley, who I've known for, God, over 10 years at this point. I love that we finally found an avenue to start working together. But Bob got me in touch with Tim, and he heard the record and he absolutely loved it, and he believes in it, which is really cool to see how passionate he is about it. And I mean, like, some of the conversations we've had, because you can tell when someone's like, "Oh man, it's great," blah blah blah, but like they don't really think that it's great. Um, but I
Right.
could tell that like he was actually genuine, and like he actually took the time to listen to the songs multiple times, and it wasn't just I'll give it the quick 60 seconds, all right, next, all right, 90 seconds, all right, next. Like, he went through the entire record multiple times, and he actually believes in it. And I started a 6-week campaign with him, and it's starting to head out around to radio. Last week, I believe, it started going out, and hopefully within the next week or so, it should start getting in rotation. But we sent Hostility out to rock radio, and like this will be on like FM rock stations. I'm not sure just yet. Like, we're supposed to get our first report at the end of the week, kind of see where the singles are landing, who's picking it up. And I'm anxious to see how things go. And it's a scary thing to send stuff out to radio to see if it's gonna do anything. And I mean, I'm on a shoestring budget too, man. Like, I don't have the hundreds of thousands of dollars that it takes to truly attack radio like the record labels do. And I'm balling on a budget, but we'll see if I can make, if I can make some noise with next to no money. That leads me to believe, what can I do with money? And that's kind of what I feel like this is gonna allow us to gauge, to see where things start landing. And the cool thing is we're gonna have stations that that do pick it up, and I know that we're going to be able to start going to those markets to playing. So that's kind of what I'm hoping happens from this radio campaign, is people start to get the name Riding with Killers in their heads. Listeners will hopefully hear Hostility and be like, "Hey, what's that? Who is this? I need to look them up." And we're going to start trying to get out to those markets. One of the goals for me is to start getting out to like Chicago, Columbus, Ohio. I even want to get out to New York if I could. Some of these markets I've been able to hit on tour with Taproot. It's really cool. Cause I try not, again, like, going back to the, trying not to be greedy or use my platform to be like me. Like, I don't really talk about Riding with Killers all that much on Taproot tours, because I'm there to be the guitarist of Taproot. And if it happens to come up in conversation, like, yeah, let's, for sure. If you've researched, and that's what's started to happen, is that a lot of these diehard Taproot fans have looked into me because, they care about the music, and they're finding Riding with Killers, and I'm getting some fans, and friends because of that spillover. So, through that's made me want to start pursuing, some of those markets that I don't know if they're necessarily going to pick us up radio wise up in New York or whatever, but like, I know that we've got people that'll show up and will hang out with us. And, I really want to start bringing, getting the band more regional and breaking out of Michigan. And like, we've got our first out of state show. Well, not our first out of state show, but of 2024, I should say. We'll be in Pittsburgh on the 22nd of this month at Funhouse at Mr. Smalls with our boys and guides. So, yeah, man, I really feel like some doors are hopefully about to open up for us, and some new spots. And I'm looking forward to seeing what stations, will pick us up. And if I'm not mistaken, here in a little bit, people will start being able to request Hostility on rock radio. So do that, please.
Oh, absolutely. Just let me know where, and I'll go and I'll do my part with that. And congratulations, man. Having something go out to radio is a big deal, even if it's just a local radio or if it's national radio. It's a big deal, man. I'm more than just confident that Riding with Killers has big things in store that'll happen for you guys this year and in the coming years. I definitely think you have everything at your disposal to make that happen. And as far as like, not sure what things can happen, what waters to test. I wasn't sure I'd be able to do this podcast, actually have, people whose music I listen to on it. But here I am, you're episode 6 or 7, I would say.
That's
And
awesome.
you just never know until you just put yourself out there and you do it,
Yeah, that's very true, man. And it was funny, man. I was nervous because when we pulled the trigger and I sent everything in, like it hit me. I was like, dude, I haven't done this in 10 years, and it's so funny. I used to think that like when I left my old band, I was like, man, this is it. I'm done. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get back in it, but here we are, like taking an actual decent shot at radio, and the record's out, the second record's done, which I can't wait for people to hear that one. Like we've got some really cool stuff on the way, and it's just it feels like things are lining up,
That's very exciting. I have this, I don't know if it's a bad habit, but as soon as I hear a new record or a first record from a band, I'm already eager to hear what's next.
Right.
So I don't know if that's already like,
because it's like, how are they going to do better than this? Like,
it's like what direction will they go next? And I hope, and you seem like the kind of person and the guys that are in your band that would do this to challenge yourselves and go directions you wouldn't expect to go, twists and turns, make it.
You'll be super happy. We did some weird stuff on the new record, man. Like so I have this Gibson hollow body that will be my main guitar for that record cycle, because I recorded everything. Like all the main guitar parts were recorded on this guitar. But I've got it never went to production, but it was supposed to be a Trent Reznor signature. And
really?
And basically Gibson pre-built a bunch of guitars because he was famously known for smashing the fuck out of his instruments. And then the call just like never came. The deal never went through, as I'm to understand. That's what the folklore is out in the wild. But then when the Memphis Gibson factory shut down, these were given out as parting gifts to the employees. Like, thank you for your hard work. And I mean, it's one of the most fantastic guitars I've ever owned. And I mean, dude, we wrote the whole second record on it. And here, I just one second.
I was gonna say, show it.
It's like show and tell, man.
Please do.
But so this is it. It's got one single F hole, but it's the diamond, and I dropped a Seymour distortion in there, Seymour Duncan distortion. But so this part, you hear that?
Yeah.
So we basically, there's a couple songs where I did like. But I'm plucking. But like one of the actually that's how the entire record starts. But that's the intro to the record, and like there was and Jacob accidentally discovered one of the coolest riffs of all fucking time. But he was just messing around and he detuned my guitar, and then he hit it and it went bow. Bow, and then we took that and I got it to bow, bow, and we used this guitar not as a guitar. on the next record, and we made some pretty special stuff. Like I said, James Laskew did the bass for that record, and then Devin Clark of the band Cane Hill did the drums. And I don't know
Really?
if you're familiar.
Oh yeah, I listen to them. Yeah,
so
they're
I
awesome.
love those guys. They're all such great people, man. And fucking dude Witt, they're just great dudes, man. It was really awesome to have Devin come do the drums, and he did some wild shit, man. It's like metal mixed with like that New Orleans jazz. Like because there's so many just little things. Because we did all the music in New Orleans too. Like we did pre-production in Detroit. We did the record at the Maroney studio, like all the music at the Maroney, and at Rick's house, where Jacob was staying. We did like guitar and bass there, and did drums there, and other just random things. But like, it's so cool because you can hear just these different beats where it's like, okay, that's a jazz thing, that's a Zydeco thing, and you can hear that New Orleans influence at random parts, but it's mixed with like metal. And there is a song on the record that's literally just me and an acoustic guitar. And then there's like a Slipknot song, almost like old school Slipknot, like first record, self-titled. And then there's almost like a System of a Down vibe. Like, yeah, we did a lot of interesting things. Like, it was super cool, man. But yeah, that it's very different from what Full Circle is, like 100%. It's very vastly different, but I think that'll be a good thing.
That is, in my book, it would be an absolutely awesome thing, because that's what I like most in bands that don't replicate what they've done already, and instead they go and approach like maybe album 2 or album 3 or whatever, and it's just not what people might expect, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to hear, and I'm probably going to just sit and just try and pick out every little thing you just said to see how much I catch and what I might not catch, you know? Those kinds of records are always my favorite kinds of records that just have me just listening and, like, what did I just hear?
Well, and what's really cool about this record too, it was the first time that I've essentially recorded in 3 different locations around the country and around the world.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first time that I ever had a month straight. Like we were able to be in New Orleans at the Maroney studio and at Rick's house. Like that's all I did for a month. And I've never had that in my entire career. Like, closest I would say I came to that was, I think we maybe did 7 days in Wisconsin, and then we did 7 days in Alabama in the earlier Catharsis days. But like, I've always had to do songs and fragments, and like, okay, well, I've got this weekend free, I can come up for that, or I can come in for these 4 days, or hey, I've got a week, isn't this great? But we're trying to shove 10 songs into a week, which is like the worst idea ever. And you start to figure that out as you start to have experiences like this. But like, we spent a week on pre-production in my house in Detroit, and then like I said, we were down in New Orleans doing the drums, doing the bass, doing the guitar, but that's all we did for 28 straight days. Well, I mean, like, we had a couple days off here or there. But like, and then I went to Sweden, I went to Gothenburg for a month. And then we did nothing but vocal blueprinting, and we did lyric writing, we did melody writing, we put it through the grinder, and put it through the grinder again, and we ended up with what we ended up with. And then Jacob came back over in the middle of November of last year, and then we landed at Rock Hill Sound Studios because we had our room for that we were going to rent. Basically, miscommunication, room fell through. But I think it happened for the best because I would have had to have driven like an hour and 15 one way every single day to do vocals, whereas we ended up 20 minutes up the road, and I ended up with a vocal coach. You know what I mean? So everything happened the way that it was supposed to. But then we spent a week on vocals, tracking like all, main vocals, screams, overdubs. And we were able to knock it out in a week. So it was cool. It was the first time that I've ever gotten to really spend that amount of time consecutively, and just focus 9 songs and making them the best that they can be. And it's one of the best experiences I've ever had. So, and I think the music reflects that. And I'm so proud of the work that James did, the work that Devin did, the work that Jacob did. I mean, like, Jacob essentially wrote the drums because that's what he does. Jacob is a drummer by trade, and he just happens to be a class producer, and produced a couple small local bands like In Flames and Anthrax.
Oh man, In Flames.
Just a couple tiny bands, whatever.
Yeah, man, like In Flames, like holy crap, that's a big one for me.
Dude, the drum tones that Jacob gets, like the tones period that Jacob gets, they're incredible. But like that's one of his big things. Like he builds drum libraries for some of the biggest, VST instruments out there, and I'm really proud of what everyone did. Like everyone performed so incredibly well, on both records. It's cool, man.
Yeah, it's always been a dream of mine to at least maybe one time in my life be able to go into a studio and just crank something out, But if that's something that's meant to happen for me, it'll happen. I don't really stress about the ifs and forcing something to happen, because I'm sure forcing things to happen usually doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
Creative, with the aspect of things. Yeah, I want with your writing, man, I do want to ask a little bit and kind of have you go in depth a little more about the way you attack a song, like from the writing or from its inception in your mind, how you hear it or how you see the lyric, starting. What's your, I guess, your process, if you want to go through that?
I would say it's honestly ever evolving. But the way that I generally, I would say 9 times out of 10, it starts on my acoustic guitar. And because I'm a guitar player that's my first love, I never envisioned myself being a singer, even though I always used to love singing as a kid. But I always thought I was going to be Slash. You know what I mean? Like, all right, that's what I do. Blah, blah, blah. I'm Slash. That was always kind of what I thought I would end up as. So I would say my writing process is rooted in that still. It always kind of starts with the guitar and figuring out, okay, is this the intro? Yes. Is this the verse? Is this the chorus? Blah, 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 blah. And I mean, I've always got drums kind of going in my head as well. Like, okay, this is kind of the feel that I want, and, then from there, but in terms of bass, I always kind of let, Tim Krukowski because he recorded the bass for like DNA and What Comes Next and Self-Destruct. There's quite a few songs on that record that Tim did as well. I don't tell the bass player his job because I can't write bass for shit. So I always let those guys handle it because I mean, you can fucking tell when the guitar player writes the bass. I'm sorry, you just can. And I'm not the most proficient bass player at all. So I always hand that torch off to James and to Tim, and you know, and then of course once we get in the room with all the guys, like stuff just starts evolving from there. Like I said, like in Hostility, man, like James had a big hand in helping write a lot of those guitar riffs with me, and you know, it's just that's that. But it always starts with the acoustic guitar, you know, that's where it all, and I would like to think to some degree I've got intention in mind with, okay, this is gonna kind of be what it's about, but at the same time, like I always kind of like to get the pieces together first, and then I feel like what the song should be about kind of reveals itself to a degree. So, but you know, there's other songs like Novelty is a great example, man. I had the melody, like vocally, I had the guitars, like, and it was just going to be an acoustic song. But then Matt heard the lyrics and he was like, he was so sweet. He was like, listen, I'm not saying they're bad, but we're rewriting everything. And, but that's how we then turned that into, okay, well, that you wrote about, like, we were still writing my lyrics. We were just turning them into poetry, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were like, Toy Story we'll take it from the point of view being a doll. And, you know, so like, but that one was a fluke for me. Like I'm still very new in the world of songwriting as a singer. Like now I have to approach my guitar riffs and things as well. How am I going to play and sing this? Because I really like the fact that we're just a 3-piece live and we still manage to sound full, you know, and we're not having a shit ton of guitar backing tracks either. Like,
well, look at Chevelle, man. Well, look at Chevelle. They pull it off like,
and that's what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
it's really cool to be a 3-piece and still be able to rock out, jump around, but do the thing, and then have, you know, a drummer and bass player that are also singing, so we can start doing some 3-part harmonies. And I like the challenge of being a 3-piece and still, because I mean, obviously I'm not going to be able to replicate every single thing like that I do on a record live, especially if I don't want to be super track heavy, because, you know, you'll have a layer of lead guitar and rhythm guitar, and maybe there's a little weird, you know, or something like that in the background popping off. But I really like the challenge of being a 3-piece still, but now I'm having to think of, okay, well, what is going to satisfy me in terms of music, but also like, how can I sing over this? Because, you know, I want to still be a guitar riff and something that I enjoy listening to, before I even try to put something out to the world, you know? So, guitar, I would say, is the shortest version of that story I could have told.
Yeah, not surprised there. I was thinking that you'd probably say starts on the guitar most of the time. I write too, but I don't use an instrument to write. I just like, I get a thought in my head and I just start writing it out. Like I could sit down and just write something without even thinking of a subject, and then read it back to myself and go, huh, that's interesting. You know?
Yeah.
Well, I love picking the minds of people that actually make the music that go to the lyrics, just to get their perspective on how they attack what they do. Because, you know, sometimes it could kind of like get me thinking in a different way. And then like sometime later I'll get, you know, thinking of like some words in my head and I'll go to write it down and I'll think about what I was told by this person, and it'll kind of influence how I wrote it down, and surprised me, I guess. So I just love the path that things take without kind of having a predetermined destination. You get that at all?
For sure.
For sure. Yeah. Because like, I think that's, if I did it the way you do it, you know, like having your own instrument, and if I could even play anything, you know, I think I would still keep it that way and just go in kind of blind, you know, because I like the life things that take on as it goes, you know. You mentioned some of your influences growing up and recently, like Taproot, you know, Linkin Park. What are some influences that people might not expect you to say for your music that you make in your life?
Something, I mean, I would say, I mean, this is still guitar players, but Davy Johnstone from Elton John, really, really big fan of his work with Elton, and Elton's just a huge inspiration to me as well. That was the first concert I ever got to attend, so thanks for that one, Mom. That's a good first concert.
He's a hell of a performer.
Oh my God, it was amazing. And I got to see him for his final show in New Orleans. I was really happy to see that one. But I would say in terms of like lately and just stuff that I listen to, I would say Deadmau5, Cascade, Elderbrook, Rufus the Soul. I really jumped heavily into EDM and just electronic music, and I really like breakbeat, you know, and just, I don't know, like I've really gotten into that in recent years, and I've been going to more festivals. Like I'm going to my second year at Electric Forest this year, which I'm insanely excited for. There's a lot of artists that I'll get to see that I really enjoy from that realm of things. But there's also a bunch of artists that I have no idea who they are. And I kind of like that, you know, because it makes it fun to find different bands that I wouldn't normally listen to. And they have all sorts of artists that'll show up there. And I would say that's probably what people might not expect, because, you know, I make hard rock. I play metal band, and that's and don't get me wrong, I love that music, but like, you know, that's not what I want to inspire me to make music, because then I'll end up sounding, I would say, the same as everybody else to a degree. And I want to listen to stuff outside my genre that I create, because, you know, there's a lot of really cool music out there, and it's not just contained within rock or metal or all the subgenres that are offshoots of it. And I've really been enjoying exploring, you know, this different area that I normally didn't used to pay attention to, because I'm finding stuff. It's like, man, that'd be cool if that beat or that transition was in a rock song, or it makes my gears turn a little bit, you know, more these days. Mm-hmm. And not to say that there aren't new rock songs or artists out there that are absolutely great that would inspire, because there are, you know, there's plenty. That's just kind of something that I've gravitated towards lately, and I've been having a really, really good time exploring something new and trying to, and I'm not saying I'm going to have like, you know, freaking EDM in any of my music. But at the same time, like, dude, I love the fuck out of some Nine Inch Nails. And I mean,
I was going to say, never say never.
So, I mean, you never know. Yeah. But like, I don't know. I would say that's probably, those would be the artists.
That's not exactly what I expected to hear from you, for sure. Cause I'm the kind of person that struggles to listen to a lot of music outside of what I really love, like, which is the heavy stuff, you know, the moody stuff. Like I struggle to listen to pop. I struggle to listen to rap or hip hop. I'm a lot more open to country music than I used to be. Like there's actually quite a bit I'm finding that I enjoy
Yeah.
now that 15 years ago I wouldn't have even bothered giving 10 seconds of time to listen to. So I think it's a real healthy thing to do, especially now in the mindset that I have to be open to all kinds of music. I'm not a big fan of like the top 40 type stuff because I'm of the mind where a lot of the artists that are around now sound too similar, and you kind of touched on that a little bit. Do you feel like the climate and music in general could kind of feel a bit stagnant these days?
I mean, I would assume so, like, I mean, there's plenty of carbon copy bands that are out there. But like weirdly enough, man, like I mean, I wouldn't know though too, because like I don't like heavily pay attention to, which is hilarious because I'm like, we're going to radio, but I'm like, I'm not listening.
I don't blame you.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like I'll definitely throw on a station from time to time, but like that's, I mean, like I said, I'm not listening to rock music too terribly much. Like I'm jumping off in different playlists and swimming around other spots, kind of intentionally. So for me, it's not, because I'm just over here finding new artists and whatnot. But I'm also like super late to the party with a lot of things too. So there's also something to be said with that as well. Like I said, man, ADHD, dude, I'm all over the place.
Yeah. My younger brother has that too, and it's kind of, it could be kind of funny sometimes watching him do something, or he goes off on one thought, it ends on a completely other different like topic, and you're just kind of like, okay.
I mean, look at us. We're already an hour and a half into this, and like I've
What, really?
like 3 actual points.
Wow, man! I wasn't even paying attention to that.
Hey, man, that's when you're having a good time flies.
Yeah, it sure does. I probably do have to wrap it up here pretty soon,
Yeah,
though.
I do
Get
as well.
dinner going.
Dinner, and I'm hungry.
Yeah, say dinner. Any parting tidbits you'd like to give your Writing with Killers faithful? Like maybe some info on maybe a song title for something new, or maybe something that you haven't made public yet?
Well,
you would like
I said, Hostility is headed to rock radio. Be on the lookout. I'm sure we'll make some posts, and be able to kind of guide you in the right direction of what stations to call. But, be on the lookout for that. It'd be dope if you wanted to call in and request Hostility. That would mean the world to us. Got some headlining dates scattered throughout the year, and, got a new music video for our song DNA that we'll be putting out in a couple months. There's stuff on the way, and just stay tuned. You can find us at writingwithkillers.com, which I need to update like crazy. And then on Facebook, Writing with Killers. I mean, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, awesome. Again, everybody, this is Taylor Roberts, Writing with Killers, Taproot. I can't bring up the banner I made, but please check them out. They're badass. Again, thank you for coming on, Taylor. Very excited for the new stuff when it does come out. I hope you will come to Oregon at some point with your band, because I'd love to catch you live. I'm spreading the word as much as I can. My older brother actually just got on and said, "Great stuff. Hostility is awesome."
Hell yeah. Thanks, bro. Super appreciate that, man.
Yeah. So again, I really appreciate you taking the time. Yeah, we're in between Portland and Eugene, in a little town called Albany.
Okay. Well, yeah. We've been talking about getting out to Portland to at least come do some hiking. Sounds like we need to come do some music playing too.
Yeah, please do. Hawthorne theaters are pretty popular venue here. Smaller venue. They do a lot of like the smaller bands. They've done, bigger bands too, but I definitely hit them up when you guys are having the means to go further out,
Yeah,
different
awesome.
and stuff. Yeah.
You got to start some region, man.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever played Oregon in my entire music career, so that would be a big first. But we would love to come out that way, man. Yeah, we'll make it out there as soon as we can, for sure.
I sure as hell hope so. Again, thank you for coming on. Go get yourself some grub and enjoy the rest of your night.
You as well, bro. Thanks for having me, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Take care, bro.
You too.